I don't know if I have anything to talk about. We start streaming yet? I have to. I should wait a little bit because I was looking at the VOD from yesterday and it was I kind of just like jumped into it like mid sentence because this didn't have enough time to start broadcasting. But here we are, Friday. We made it through the week. That's huge. But yeah, don't know what I want to talk about this morning. Uh, kind of figure out a game plan. Getting ready for work. I got about an hour. Uh, but how was that stream yesterday? Kind of talk shit, right? God, I was tired. I was so goddamn tired. I'm tired today too. I was that tired yesterday and I still went to bed late. Just totally ruined my schedule. I got up at 5, laid on the couch, which you can probably see, uh, and just kind of, rolled over, had a sip of coffee, roll back over, did that for basically an hour, from 5 to 6, and, completely just wasted the morning. But we're here, you know. Uh, gonna try and go live after work today. Uh, Hopefully, I'm not as hungry towards the end. I'm gonna try and eat a little bit before I leave work, so we could just dive straight in. Then again, it is Friday, so we have, you know, uh, the whole day. We have the whole night. We could stream for, 48 hours. See, Friday at 5, Saturday at 5, Sunday at 5. Well, be a marathon, but I mean, we could do it technically. It would be fine. I would just need to go grocery shopping and do laundry and mow the lawn, maybe. But I mean, it's possible. Uh, let's see. Hopefully, I find the willpower and, and the pure motivation to, continue doing research into something. That's the main goal of this is to just look into something. Uh, I was thinking about uh, looking into the Tylenol thing and looking into the studies that they're quoting. Uh, Part of me doesn't want to do that because, again, it's what all the news is talking about, and the whole ethos of this was to bring light to stories that aren't being talked about, that are super important. But this one seems like it would be cool to, see what the studies were that they're referring to. And what I really wanted to do was to look up. There's a certain rating that is applied to uh, PhDs, like doctors, people who have their doctorates and do research. That basically ranks you based on the number of citations you have. Uh, and what it tells you is, how I would see it as a benchmark for how credible someone is and how not necessarily influential, but how impactful their work has been, and how many other doctors are referencing their work, uh, which would be something to interesting to see for whoever is doing this research. Be like, okay, well, how you know who cites you? How credible is your work? Is anyone else using your work as a support for their work? You know what I mean? I think that would be an easy, quick investigation. I think you can find that out on Google Scholar too. But yeah, that would be something to do. But again, it's the whole basis of that is like mudslinging. I mean, truly, like I can admit my bias to it. Uh, I'm man enough to do that. But it would still be interesting to see just a quick fact check and be like, well, this doctor isn't, quoted that much or isn't cited that much. So, people don't really listen to what he has to say or think what he has to say is relevant. Uh, we could also check what journals are published in and see how, just kind of look into how peer reviewed, how rigorous the peer review is. Because that's actually a kind of a big problem in academia. I remember reading was that uh, a lot of research that's being put out is just straight up false, which is, that could be support for the other side too. It says science is made up. Uh, Let me double check that. Uh, is research becoming less credible? God, if I could spell and type, less credible nowadays. Talking research credit, significant challenges today, though it's not inherently less credible. Many scientific studies are difficult, if not impossible, to replicate by independent researchers. A 2016 Nature survey found that over 70% of researchers failed to reproduce other scientists' experiments, and more than half could not reproduce their own. Particularly prevalent in fields such as psychology. I can imagine that's tough in psychology. That's a very, you know, humans are unpredictable. You know what I mean? It's not like every human is the same. So, you know, and medical science, that's sucks. Causes include low statistical power in studies, publication bias favoring novel positive results over null findings, and undisclosed research practices. Scientific fraud and misconduct. Instances of fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism are becoming more visible. In 2023, over 10,000 papers were retracted globally due to misconduct, a new record. That's what I thought I remembered hearing was that a lot of papers were being, taken back. The rise of paper mills, which produce fraudulent scientific papers for free, further contaminate the academic literature and spreads misinformation. The publisher perish culture incentivized researchers to prioritize the number of publications over the quality, potentially leading to questionable research practices. I gotta ask my PhD friend. He's getting his doctorate right now, and see if this is a real thing. Because I know that at least I'm like 80% confident that there's like a quota, I guess you would say, on like the number of papers you have to publish. And part of the thing that like drives research, especially at research institutions, is like getting grants for your research. So I don't know if that particularly plays into, the urge to publish more, but it definitely is. I mean, that's how these things are funded, is, basically selling your research and being like, hey, invest basically in this idea, help me pursue these results, that these things could have substantial impact. But again, I'm not a PhD. I've never published anything. I've had the opportunity to participate in a paper that was going to get published, but I didn't do it because I'm a bastard. But yeah, we'll have to see how uh, if grants play into that. If that's like part of the reason why there's such a pressure to publish as many papers as possible. See if there's like quotas you got to hit. If you're especially if you're like a professor at a research institution, uh, you know, how much of your responsibilities are, dedicated to research and the results from your research. Results as in how many papers you put out. Uh, Empirical research to study and improve research practices focuses on understanding the causes of reproducibility issues and developing solutions. Why aren't people? Uh, what's the scientific method? I keep on wanting to saying aristocratic. What's the research method called? Something Socratic. Socratic questioning. No, Socratic method. Form of inquiry that uses a series of questions, challenge assumptions, to help an individual arrive at their own more robust conclusion. Uh, Socratic questioning. This might not be. To clarify what they're saying, explore. Why do you say that? Could you explain further? I thought the Socratic method was like how you developed a thesis. You know what I mean? Like Socratic method with regards to, look at me saying things and not typing it. With regards to forming thesis. I thought this was Was it really in for thesis formulate a preliminary hypothesis, clarify the core concept, challenge your assumptions, ask for evidence or reasons, consider alternative viewpoints, explore implications and consequences, revise and refine. We should probably start doing this when we get back to the bill. I know we haven't done anything for the bill we proposed on Sunday, but uh, I don't know if this actually applies because this is a good example. So it's not like we're trying to prove anything. We're trying to pass a bill, but this would be good to keep in the back of our mind when we make assumptions or we propose a thesis on something. Yeah, but reproducibility. I mean, that's evidence, right? I mean, don't you have an experiment? Uh, you have an experiment that you do, and you do it for multiple times. I guess the only time I've ever done like methods like this was in like physics, and physics is, I imagine, like easier to do research like this because your experiments pretty much are deterministic, for the most part, at least in the macroscopic, realm of things, when you're doing like Newton's first law, uh, it's like, oh, if I launch this ball with this much force at this angle, it's gonna have this velocity, it's gonna travel this distance, reach this height, and you can do that every single time. That's it's consistent. Uh, but then again, that brings in the question, in terms of like observing, making assumptions off of observations. That's the statistical approach of like frequentist versus Bayesianist for probability. It's like I flipped a coin 10 times and it landed on, heads and tails 5 times each. I assume that the probability of heads or tails is 50%. And it's like I know that from observations. That's the frequentists, I'm pretty sure. And then the Bayesianists were like, I actually don't know. I watched a YouTube video on that like 4 weeks ago, or probably like a month or two ago, and ever since then I've been just making that claim. I'm like, are you a frequentist or a Bayesianist? It's like, what do you observe? You go off what do you observe or whatever Bayesianists believe. Mm. Again, my pseudo intellectualism knows no bounds. You know, it's like you say all these things that make you sound smart, but you have just a surface level understanding, just a little bit of prodding and like challenging, the whole thing unravels. Which is why we are doing these streams, which is why we want to dive into these topics and understand them deeper. Problem is I keep on doing a broad sweep of what I'm interested in, what I want to learn about. So it's like I still only get that far into a topic, and I'm like, all right, well, let's look into Tylenol or scientific research or data brokers. I give myself some leeway with data brokers because it seems like that whole market and that whole industry is very like uh behind closed doors. It's not very information about it's not very publicly accessible. It's very I want to say discreet, but uh opaque, you know. Uh but yeah, so I was thinking about doing the Tylenol investigation, uh, just to in case that ever comes up. I saw some wild shit, again, it was I want to, it was on social media. It was on a right-leaning account, and it was showing just a picture of, just a collage of different liberals on TikTok who were pregnant taking a bunch of Tylenol, and that's just so not right. You know, the women are in the wrong in that sense. That's what I'm saying. Is like, who, what are you doing? What does that prove? What are you, how does that help? Just like, are you doing this just, like, I think a lot of it is just like people just hopping on controversial things to get views, or to get trending, for some reason. I don't understand that. Like I understand the want for views and such like that. Uh, but when you are pursuing views, but you're not like having like a personality that you're trying to push or like a channel or like some kind of like focus for, the content you produce, you're just like on my personal account, I'm gonna hop on this trend to, to uh to state my opinion or state my stance on it. Uh, and especially in such a way where you're taking a bunch of Tylenol when you're pregnant. I don't get that. I don't understand what's the point of that. I understand voicing your opinion on social media for those uh, that follow you. Uh, it's you feel passionate about a topic and you want to express your views, and I can understand that. Uh, it's kind of it's kind of weird. Like I would, because like it feels like that should be a conversation. If anything, it's like if you feel so strongly about it, you should tell someone that you feel strongly about it. I don't know if you like tell your friends or tell your family or you just like vent to someone and be like, this is ridiculous. I imagine it's that same logic, but you just put it on a public platform where you can share it with everyone who follows you, who gives a shit, and be like, I want you to know that I think this is ridiculous. I'm gonna do this fucking asinine thing and share it. I just don't understand that. Uh, then again, I'm a very unique case because I'll be on the level with you. Like I don't have like I'm not that social of a person. I don't have that many friends. I don't I wouldn't say I'm quote unquote normal in a lot of ways. You know, so I don't understand. So I can see like where my inability to like connect with normal trends nowadays or like normal behavioral like social things. But this still seems crazy. It seems weird. I don't understand why you're like chasing views for like you wouldn't like do that consistently. It feels like it's like who are you trying to be an influencer? Like what's what are you selling? You know what I mean? Like what's the point? Uh, let's see. But it's also interesting to see like after following all of these accounts on social media, it's a lot of I've noticed it with right leaning, and this is only from like a few observations yesterday uh, during break on work, uh, was just a lot of these right leaning accounts. A lot of the smaller ones are mostly just like memes or posting memes. It's not like a lot of information. It's more just like shitting on people on the left, and I think that's really interesting because it's like it's creating a stereotype of someone on the left, like a stereotype of a liberal, and just shitting on them. It's not like that's just what I took away from it. It's like one of the memes was actually pretty funny, but it was also like it was so God, I need to have an actual Instagram account for this purpose so that we can go through and like actually look at the videos that I'm talking about. But it was one of them. It was a bunch of sheep walking in line, and it was like liberals on their way to defend a pharmaceutical giant, and it was very interesting because it's like it's not the point. People aren't saying Tylenol when you're pregnant is they're not taking a stance against this bill because they're defending the pharmaceutical company. They're there's they're going against it because they're challenging the link between Tylenol and autism, or is autism or Down syndrome? I don't know. I don't remember which one it was associated with. But it's interesting to see how they're shifting, the perspective of what the liberals are doing, or what liberals, quote unquote, are doing. You know, and they're just slapping a label liberal on anyone that opposes this. It's like, oh, you're going against it, well, you must be a liberal. It's interesting. It's like it's a lot of discrediting people in their opinions, and worse yet, it's like it's uh yeah, discrediting, and it's like a smear campaign against anyone that goes against your views. It's like if if someone doesn't align with how you think, they're less than you, and you make fun of them. I don't know if they're less than you, but you make fun of them. Is what I took away from that. I thought that was really interesting because you don't see that with like CNN or or any of these, at least from what I've observed, any of these left-leaning news outlets. I guess it is a problem that I don't haven't been able to find uh like smaller like content, I don't know what you call them, producers or channels that are left-leaning and don't talk about like the news, any of these left-leaning accounts that create memes. Uh, and it made me, now that I say this out loud and starting to think about it, it's curious uh, if that's just been the strategy for the Republicans, ever since as of recently, is like you know finding a way to connect more with your demographic, and it's like people don't give a shit about facts. They like memes. They like shit they can laugh about. They you know if something's funny, if someone's consistently funny, I imagine you'd like them more. You know, I don't know. It's really interesting to see the difference. Although I did find this one account for that was left leaning. I'm pretty sure it's called the Democrats, and they had a meme yesterday uh, where it was talking about Trump giving uh, Argentina's president, I think his name's Milei, no, $100 billion. And it was like, when you give your bro 100 million to unfuck his economy, and then it was in quotes. It was like Trump trashed our economy on purpose. It was like it was crazy. At first I was like, oh, I guess there are memes on both sides. But I was looking at the comments, and people were like, this is a meme coming from the Democrats account? Like, what is today? So it must be something new. That must be that's probably just not our strategy. And I don't want to say our, because it makes me sound like a liberal. I'm not either party. I try to be like a third party observer. Uh, and my personal views, I try to keep my personal views out of it. I just want to I just want to observe. I just kind of want to look from like a system perspective, because I'm not trying to fix it so it works best for me. I'm trying to fix it so it works best for everyone. And you can take that as you will. I know that's probably sounds like bullshit. That sounds like everyone, who's ever lied to you, but that's that's genuinely what I want to do. I want to find a way to where there can be a healthy, less extreme, bring people closer to a middle, and have a more productive discourse between parties, and have that on a national level. Uh, how are we going to do that? I don't know. You know, uh, my initial plan was to, you know, read these laws, bring attention to them, reach out to the people that are in charge, and, try and, be a voice of reason, be like, hey, I know I'm just one guy, but I appreciate what you're doing. I like what you're doing. I have these ideas, you know, and try and share that with, people that come across these videos, and hopefully, show them, I'm trying to, I don't want to put myself on a goddamn pedestal, because, I'm not great, I have my own demons, but lead by example and be like, we can, there's people out there that want this to work for both parties, but yeah, that the Instagram's been interesting. Uh trying not to I gotta be careful because I feel like I'm gonna be like falling down. I'm scared I'm gonna be sold on some of this shit. I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, these guys are really onto something. I'm trying to maintain my views that I have now and just like observe and just kind of take a step back and not be influenced by the algorithm in any way. Just kind of take it all in and just see what's going on in that perspective. It'll be really interesting, especially if there's like big national events that national stories that both sides of the aisle pick up on, and it'll be interesting to see everyone's perspective on it and be like, oh wow, really spinning this story a certain way. But that's over here. The main goal is research. Staying focused, but trying to be smarter and more engaged. That's the whole point. It's just to stay engaged, but not. I don't want to. I don't want to be an influencer. That's not what this is about. This is about having a real impact. I don't give a shit if I'm not trying to sell shirts. You know what I mean? Like trying to trying to help. You know, I do have some selfish goals. I want to have, you know, uh, I want to have, an impact. I want to have that, for my ego, I guess. But uh, being able to shine a light and just at least, go to bed at night and knowing that I tried and I tried to do something, to bring us all together to, find a way to find common ground. Uh, but yeah, so we are going to do that. I don't know if it's going to be the Tylenol thing. I don't know if it's going to be analyzing social media later today. Uh, we're gonna have to find something. We might just go back to the data brokers thing to work on our own bill. Uh, it may be easier to do something more topical. It depends on the mood. It depends on the vibe. Plus, we're at a point, this is just starting out. I'm not doing any like marketing to get viewers, so it's more or less just like whatever I deem, this is not a democracy on this stream. This is dictatorship. I choose the direction the boat's going. So we'll uh we'll find something to do. But yeah, Instagram's been really funny. Instagram's been super funny. Not funny, but it's been super interesting. Uh, and let me just while I'm here, I got a few minutes. What's the Tylenol research? Evidence says no. FDA responds to evidence of possible association. Label change to reflect evidence suggesting that the use may be associated with neurological autism, ADHD. So the FDA, also large find this association. Boston birth cohort and nurses health study too. Okay, let's start with one. Okay, how many? Let's just say how many citations? Uh, all right, let's do Google Scholar. We need a good benchmark. We need someone who's been very credible so we understand what numbers we look at, but uh, it's like R score or something like that. Research groups. Uh, R score lookup. Oh, that's just Google Scholar. Metrics provide an easy way for authors to quickly gauge the visibility and influence of recent articles. Metrics. Largest numbers, at least articles, publication cited at least H times, for example, publication with 5 articles cited by respectively. It's an index of 3. I don't understand that. How can I, uh, what is the R score in research? R scores in research correlation coefficient, a value denoted by letter R that indicates the strength and direction of a linear relationship between two variables from uh, such as research interest scope. Is there maybe it's just look up researchers on Google Scholar. Fuck, I don't want to sign in. Google Scholar profiles. God damn it. I don't want to have to let me look it up on my Google Scholar uh uh author look up profile search profiles. Let's look for uh Zian Liu and Liu. Oh wow, she went to Yale. Oh boy, she's cited 6,500 times. Uh sorry. H index 43, I-10 index 94, 102 public articles, uh, pesticide use, parental smoking during pregnancy and ADHD in children. Uh, let me look at. Okay, so is acetaminophen use in pregnancy a comparison of self-reported intake with maternal and newborn biomarker measures? Is that what this is? Use of negative control exposure analysis to evaluate confounding. An example of acetaminophen exposure and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in Nurses Health Study 2. Uh, well, his recent paper that he published in 2025 that has to deal with acetaminophen use in pregnancy only has uh, 2 citations, which is not, you can't say anything about that because it just came out. Then again, it's been 9 months, but research takes time, especially for publications. His other research 5 times in 2025. He's published a shit ton of papers in 2025. How many papers has he? How many papers has he written? Is there a count on this? Articles 1 through 100. I'm still going. 1 through 100. 193. He's published 193 papers since it looks like 2011. That is a lot of papers every year. Uh, take an average. So 193. Well, 2011 minus 2025. Okay, 14 years. 193. I forgot the number. 14. Yeah, that's 13. That's 13 papers a year. So that's a little over 1 paper every month. That's I don't know if you ever tried to write a research paper. That's a fucking lot. That's crazy to do in a month. Now, he may not be the sole author on these research papers. He could be working with, well, that's exactly, I mean, look at this. I mean, of course, you don't write a research paper by yourself. You have people that work with you, but uh, he may have, that's still, I mean, even if you're working, does he teach? That's another good thing. Does he teach? Because if you do full-time research, I can see where you can bang out tons of papers. Uh, but he's a professor at Yale. Uh, because if you're teaching at the same time, that's crazy. I don't know how, that's a lot. That's a lot of work. Research methodologist, uh, associate professor on term, primary. God, I gotta get ready for work. Uh, UCLA, Harvard. Who's Can I do a grant lookup? Can I see who paid for this paper? Uh, uh, yes, you can look up associated grants for research paper by checking the funding acknowledgement section of the paper itself, researching uh, the report expenditure reported results allows you to search a repository, NIH funded research, access to profiles and patients. I'll look up research grants, grants.gov. Okay. Keywords. There's health study too. We can at least see if this pulls up anything. Uh, uh, I don't know how to read this. Da, da, da. These are like government grants. I'll have to, because I don't know if this is, this is like like posted grants. Uh, can I look up closed? Uh, 2010, 2025. Nurse education practice quality and retention. Uh, Maybe this says grants and funding. That's what we want to see. Grants and funding. Okay, open link in a new tab, 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 link in a new tab. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Okay, grants and funding. UM1, United States. Analysis for case controlled evidence for BRSA variant classification, differences in abortion use by sexual orientation, development, and validation. Uh, okay, is this just what it's been associated with? Has this grant just been given to National Library of Medicine, NIH, HHS, California, United States? Let me just let me just ask what this is, because I don't know what this is. What am I looking at? What is this grant? I really gotta log off. Grant was a cooperative agreement from the National Cancer Institute that funded a long-term cancer epidemiology study in women. To continue to follow up of the Nurses' Health Study 2, a large cohort of women to identify factors influence cancer incidence and survival. Okay, so this is originally for cancer. I'll have to when we get back. I gotta make note to dive back into this. So it looks like there's a lot of federal funding, which makes sense. I mean, if it's being used for advance an agenda, I guess. I don't know. Looks like it's a Associated Studies. We should actually read this paper. is is what we should do. We should read what it actually says and see how it falls. I mean, that would provide more context for why it was approved for these grants. And then we would also see, uh, what it I have time to read this abstract. Frequent maternal use of acetaminophen in pregnancy has been linked to attention deficit disorder in children, but concerns regarding uncontrolled remain. In this article, we illustrate a use negative control exposure approach to evaluate uncontrolled confounding bias in observational studies on pregnancy drug safety, explain the causal assumptions behind the method. We conducted an NCE analysis, evaluated association between maternal acetaminophen use during different exposure periods and ADHD among 8,000 children born in 1993-2005. The women enrolled in their Health 2 cohort. Information on regular maternal acetaminophen use was collected prospectively by biennial questionnaires told 722 children in the cohort have been diagnosed with ADHD as reported by mothers. NCE analysis suggested that only acetaminophen use at the time of pregnancy was associated with childhood ADHD odds ratio 1.34, 95% confidence interval, and the effects estimate that two NCE periods about 4 years before and 4 years after pregnancy were null. Our findings corroborate those of our prior reports suggesting that prenatal acetaminophen exposure may influence neurodevelopment. The lack of association between acetaminophen use in pre and post-pregnancy exposure periods and ADHD provides assurance that uncontrolled time invariant factors do not explain this association. So this, yeah, is for ADHD. So 9%. I don't know anything about the science, and I have a really hard time understanding the statistical prevalence. Like when they say shit like this, it's like, I did terrible in stats, so it's kind of hard for me to. I'll try my best to understand it. We have Copilot. Copilot can help. Where did I pull up the original? All right, let me pull this back. Such as autism and ADHD in children. It's also issued a letter at Boston Birth Control and autism spectrum disorder. This is what we should be looking at. Uh, so only 996 participants. That's a small sample size. That is a pretty small sample size. What did the other one have? Like 2,000? This followed 8,000 children, around 10,000 children. And they only found 722, so 8% of the cohort. Then you got to look into how prevalent is ADHD in children in general. You know what I mean? Like, then again, there's like, oh, the overlaps. How many of those women took acetaminophen? I don't know why I said that in a mocking tone, but I'm biased. I'm just trying to look. You know, none reported. Similar articles cited by, referenced by, grants. Look at these ones. Okay, but yeah, this is a much smaller study. This is a much smaller study. 66 had autism. 66 and 42, so what's that, 108? So 108 out of 996 had autism. 8 divided by 96, 10%. That The other one said 9% for ADHD. It'll be interesting to see how they sampled, how they picked these people. Like the how they pick the mothers, like if it was randomly sampled throughout the country, uh, that's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, we'll have to dive into this. I have to go to work. I'm going to be extremely late. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. Hopefully we do this. Uh, hopefully we do this later. I gotta. I didn't realize there were so many bots on Twitch. Cheap followers on streamboo.com. I don't know why I read that out loud, but we'll take care of that. Delete that somehow. All right. Thank you. Uh, I'm gonna publish this on YouTube probably later today, but yeah, we will be back. Have a good day. Be the best version of yourself. Shake someone's hand. Say hello. Make eye contact. All that good stuff. Let's get after it. And I'll see you at the end of the day. Have a good one. We'll be back.